Dimela, Sawubona, Sakpase, Namaste, Shin Dubra Ota, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenas noches, bonsoir, and good evening. Welcome to season 2, episode 23 of the Digital Couch Tutorial. I'm so glad to be with you all today. And we have a special guest on our couch today, and that is a sister who not only loves reading, but wants you to love reading just like she does. But guess what? It's not just to love reading, but it's to get your entire life back by doing so. Please welcome to the couch, Sister Linda Miller.
Hello. Hi.
Good evening. Welcome to the Digital Couch Tutorial. I'm so glad to see you tonight. How are you?
I'm good. Glad to see you as well.
Beautiful. So first of all, we have to start with get your mug. Get your mug because we got to show the people.
There we go.
Do y'all see? She got the L. She got the mug with the L on it. No, she did not get her mug from me. But when I saw she got the mug with the L on it, I had to be like, no, I gotta bring mine.
Yes.
We love the L. Welcome to the Digital Couch, Linda. I'm so glad to be with you tonight. For those of you who do not know, every week we meet to chat with inspirational leaders who inspire, who impact, who lead people to live better lives than they did the day before. And Sister Linda Miller is going to do just that. She has an amazing, not just a business, but she has a specific program that we're going to talk about. Now, if you like to read, that's great. If you love to read, that's even better. But if you love to connect reading with your work-life balance, with your social and emotional balance, then you've probably already chatted with her. If you didn't and you need to get your life back, that's who you need to talk to. So let's find out what this is all about. All right, Linda. First of all, people don't read anymore. How in the world did you come to this idea to have an entire business called Happy Reading? What is that all about?
Well, one, I love to read, and people do read. they really do. But I've been reading since I was a young kid. I've been reading since I was been very young. My household, we were reading. That's what we did in our house. So it just caught on. And that's where it started. But I got a love for it and I couldn't stop doing it. And I realized that I kind of use reading to help me when I in my dark times or when I was stressing or, it kind of helped me take my mind off of what was going on for that moment and had me to focus on something else. And then, of course, you have to go back and deal with whatever you have to deal with. But that was one of the stress relievers was to put my energy into reading the book and reading the chapters and reading those stories and getting to know those characters. And, it brings me joy. I could talk about reading all day long. And I realized that it has made me happier and healthier. And when you are happier, you're less stressed. Your energy goes up. Your emotions are a little bit different. Sometimes when you're sad and down, you read something that's funny, so you can do all those things. So that's where it really got started from a young girl to now. And pop, here's a business.
Now, who would have thought? Now, I know we're not going to tell age or years born, but we're probably a part of the same generation, right? And so, right. So we both grew up with whether it be parents or grandparents, as we spoke about, who would say, okay, you can go out and play, but go get you a book to read, right? Shout out to the grandparents who always had books in their house somewhere, somehow, or took you to the library.
Yes.
Got you your library card. Not the school getting the library card, but the family getting the library card.
Exactly.
And picking up books and always having them around in the car, in your book bag, going to your bed, wherever. So obviously you had great models for reading, which is phenomenal. And again, like who would have thought that you're turning that into an actual business?
I know. I didn't think so either.
So I'm going to throw a word out and maybe it's connected. It just popped into my head. In essence, this is bibliotherapy.
I like that.
Can we use
I like
that?
that.
Wait,
Yes.
you got to use that. Somebody write that down. Somebody
Yes. Yes. I like that.
get your pen
Mm,
and paper. It's like bibliotherapy. If you're
yeah.
talking about feeling better or reducing stress or using the term like the self-care and
Hmm.
doing that through literature,
Yes.
then that's bibliotherapy, changing your mood. So when you are suggesting empowering people to shift their mindset,
Hmm.
to shift their thinking by using literature, is it any old book? Is it a particular genre of texts? Is it based on a person's feeling at the time? Like how do you do this? What do you do?
It's based on the person, whatever they're going to. Like recently, I was working with a client and she was working on being present. So I talked about a book about being present, your presence, showing up, showing her how to show up. So I suggested that book to her, and it had like activities within the book to show her how to show up, because you can be in a fun activity and not be present. You're there, with your family, watching a movie, out at dinner, or, anywhere where you have to socialize, but you don't have to be present. Your body is present physically, but you're not there. So this particular book showed her how to be present. So it depends on what's going on. It depends on you. If you want to laugh, I might find some type of laughing book for you, some comedy, or, it doesn't have to be so deep, but it can just be something simple to get you going, to get you started.
So is this just popped into my head? Is this just paper? I'll say paper books because now we're into these digital books and what have you. Is this the connection to paper books and like the because I have a love, and if you're a bibliophile, then you know what I'm probably going to talk about.
Hmm.
Just feeling the pages.
Yes. Smelling the pages. Smelling the pages as they turn. Yes.
Okay, watch.
Yes.
So this is a book that a brother of mine wrote and edited, and it's an anthology of different texts, right? So it's actually called. This is just my own little bent on literature. So it's called Plantation Politics and Campus
Ooh.
Rebellions, right?
Oh, I'm gonna
It
have
was
to
cool.
get that from you.
No problem. I'll have to put the link in the chat. Uh, but and so it's actually about power, diversity, and the emancipatory struggle in higher education.
Mm.
But when I got it, this is what I did.
Yes. You smell the pages. Yes.
And then I went like this.
Yes. Yes. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
So right. So people who are like, and I'm okay with calling myself a book nerd, no problem. No
Same
problem.
here. Same here.
But there's something different about actually holding, and there's a sub community of people who are like paper book lovers. I did not know it existed. And
Hmm.
so there's there are many different types of accessories, like only specific type of highlighters and page flags and
Hmm.
like book specific type of book clips or page clips. There are note taking strategies. There's an
Mm.
entire world of people who are
Wow.
bibliophiles, and
Wow.
I sort of found it on the QT, and I was
Mm.
like, I think this is maybe a little too much. But then we shifted from paper to
Right.
then digital texts, right?
Right.
And so is it the love of the paper book and putting somebody back into immersing themselves? And thanks to all the people who are popping in and who are dropping comments. If you are a bit, hey, I think so. My mom is always a fan. Shout
Uh,
out to you, Mama. I love you. Uh, we're talking about loving books and how books and the reading process
mhm.
actually shifts your thinking and shifts your
Yes.
mood, shifts your
Yes.
mind. So, what do you coach people in? Do you say it's pick up a book, spend time in reading? Like, what is it about? What is the process?
Well, okay. So first of all, we come and you say, okay, I want to. Let's say I'm a novice reader. I want to read more. So we'll start with that. So I'll ask you, so what do you like? What type of reading do you like? Do you like mystery, love stories? Do you like bio, biographies? Do you like all those kind of things? So we'll pick something, right? And then we'll go through it, and then we'll pick a small book for you, because it's all about success. Because if you're a novice reader and you want to read more, I don't want you to get stuck and going, oh, now that's a block, because now I can't get through the book. So we find a small text that has some meat to it, and that you can get through it, and we can discuss it and we can talk about it. So that's how we may start with that, because you have to find something you like. You don't just pick up, a biography about World War II, and that's not your interest. You're not going to get through the book. But if you're into some type of love story, it's summertime, you want to read a small love story, that might get you going, and that might put your interest there. Then I finished that book. And if you like the way the author wrote the text, then you might want to read another book by that author, or you might want to get another author similar to that. So that's how we get started on that. But now, if we want to take it deeper and talk about like you're into your health and wellness, then we find out also what's going on with you. Why are you stuck? Because if you can't get through to the reading because you have a lot of things going on your plate, you have a lot of stress, and your energy is just, the harmony in your mind, body, and spirit is just not together. We have to figure out what those things are first.
Okay, so
So
do you go ahead. Go ahead.
that's what I'm saying. So once we find those things out, we can kind of attack those things and help you with those. And also, once we get past that, to show you some strategies and how to get through that, then we can move forward. And maybe it's your timing, your time management with reading and getting things done, because we want the reading process to be a joy. We want it to be fun. We want it to be a relaxation thing. We don't want it to be stressful, because that's where you're coming from. So when you release stress in this holistic way, not taking medicine, not doing anything, so you're exercising your brain, you're exercising your muscles, because when you start laughing, you're moving. So you have movement, you have a lot of things going on. So this is how I'm using reading to help you in a holistic way.
Okay, and I'm taking in information through literature. What if I'm not a good reader? Meaning, what if I have some challenges with reading? I don't have a long attention span. I'm not saying about me,
Right.
kind of, but I don't have a long attention span. How do you suggest to me that I use my day, my planning? I'm a planner person. I'm a planner girl, to incorporate that time into my day, because I literally have never heard it from this perspective. And thank you to all the people who are actually watching. If you have a question about like how can reading shift your mindset, please drop that comment. If you are a bibliophile and if you love to read, drop in what genre of reading you like. And this is not, I just read self-help, or I just read politics, or I just read poetry. What type? Is it fantasy? Is it science fiction? Is it, even like literary essay? Is it editorial? Do you a magazine, a short story person? Whatever type of reading you like, drop it in the comments so that we can sort of put it up and have some discussion. So what is it that you do about time management? Do you ask people to journal based on their reading? Do you ask them to sort of like take what they're reading and sort of dump it somewhere so they can do some processing? How does you're not just putting a book in someone's hands, but what are you telling them to do afterwards?
We have to block out the time. We have to actually take out a schedule, and we have to schedule the time. If a half hour is all you got, that's what we're going to start with, a half hour a day. And then it'll grow. If you see that you're consistent and being committed to this, then we can increase it. But the half hour, you can get through a chapter, depends on the book, So I would say I would tell the client to block it out, because that's the way you're going to really get started and be committed. Because if you can't commit to a half an hour, then you're not going to commit to a little longer. So we have to start with baby steps, depending on where you are and your time management. We have to look at your whole schedule, because your life is not just one thing. So we have to look at your whole schedule, how we can actively fit it in and make it worthwhile. And
So
just
I
again, go ahead.
oh, so this is what you're doing. Take a look. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Right? So you're holding our hands so we can turn pages.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You can use that. I
Yes.
like you can use that.
Yes, yes. And I actually saw this happen with my oldest sister. She's no longer with us, but she was going through some health challenges. And then my other sisters were like, see if she will go back to reading because she was my first book club. And she wasn't reading. She just she had so many health challenges and a lot of things were going on. But once the last year before she passed away, 2 years ago, she went back into reading. And I saw her mood change. They were like, oh, she's happier today. I said she was reading today. And I actually saw it in action. And I was like, wow, this really worked. I know it worked for me, but watching someone else who I know had challenges and I saw them actually, turn and change, and she was happier and she stopped worrying and focusing on her health challenges, and she was focused on the characters in the book. So it actually helped her.
Okay, so now you're talking about book clubs. I saw a rise in book clubs in, let's say, in communities that I'm connected to, maybe about 25, 25, almost 30 years ago. I saw a rise in book clubs.
Mhm.
And some of them were based on religion. And so if you call it, let's say, like the Bible study group, but that's what actually I was familiar with. But now I
Okay.
was seeing people do or have book clubs around, mostly they were women led.
Mhm.
But then I'm actually a part of some other groups where, and I guess it would be now considered a book club, where we would be delving into some sort of a text based on, and this is just
Mhm.
my specific background and interest, on antiquity, or that are historically, or like historical conversations, or social justice topics. And it would
Okay.
be, how can we better ourselves? How can we improve, like, not improve our mood, yes, right?
Mhm.
Improve our focus, improve our goal setting based on this particular text. Some people will get, if it's about self-help or leadership, maybe the book is, let's say, like, Who Moved My Cheese? I think that's a good
Mhm.
one. Like,
Yeah.
Who Moved My
Like that
Cheese?
one.
Those are books that are read in small groups. If anybody who's watching, whether it be live on the replay, if you have a book that somebody has said, hey, why don't you pick this up and take a read, or let's read it together, drop that into the comments, and maybe we could sort
Mm,
of share some really helpful texts that people can be happily reading.
exactly.
That's
Yes.
Happy
Yes.
LLC right there, right? That's
Yes.
Happy LLC right there.
Yes. 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 Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, so I guess there are definitely small pockets of people, and maybe we just need to bring that back a little more.
Okay.
Let's get all focused on reading a text, and it doesn't have to be a deep type of thing. But there needs to be, of course, like commitment, consistency. And I'm
Exactly.
always a person, like, people know, if we go to the movies, if we go to the movies with Joriel's gonna have to sit somewhere else because Joriel talks through the movie.
Oh no! You are what? You're that person. No, you're gonna talk
I
through
have
the.
to process. I have to process, and I have to process during the movie, because
While it's going on.
I'll say, wait, why did they do that? Or hold on, did you remember that so and so? That's why this is happening. Or, yeah, I'm the person who watched the news, but I do the same thing through literature. I am the person, when I'm reading, I'm looking to the side. I have to have I have to have page flags.
Yes.
I
Yes.
have
I have a
to have.
notebook. Yes.
Hold on, here's my new package. Here's my wait.
Yes. Yes. I have paper and I'm writing down thoughts and notes, and because I have to go back and we have to revisit, and those things. Yeah, I talk out loud when I'm reading. Yes. And
I
I
have
do have a book club. So we do that.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Actually, so this is kind of interesting. Actually, I have a sister friend. It just hit my mind at this moment. But I have a sister friend, and we're both educators. And she used to purchase, whenever she purchased a picture book. And picture books have actually come a very, very long way. Picture
Mhm.
books traditionally were for children, but over the past 30, I'll say 30 years, picture books are pictures definitely, but they were written for adults to read to children. And that's different from a picture book that is just for a child.
Yes.
Those picture books have such, of course, beautiful illustrations, and shout out to all of the illustrators who are illustrators of color, or in this
Yes.
situation, African American or African diasporic folks who are illustrators. And the hues, the contours, the reflections of
Yes.
dropping the images that bring the story to life of the text, superiorly powerful, just powerful. But she would purchase the book for her child. She would get 2 copies. And so
Mm.
and these books were $25 a pop.
Mm.
She would have like book parties where you come to my child's birthday party or holidays or whatever. Don't give them a gift, give them a book. But when she purchased the book, she would purchase 2 at a time. I'm like, why are you doing that? And she said, because if I find that it is so powerful for my child, I want one that we can use and like use a lot. But then the other one is that they can gift to someone else.
Oh, okay. Very nice. I like
At the
that.
moment, I didn't understand it because I was like, if the book is like, again, $25 or so a pop, because these would be, again, and sometimes depending on where she would be, because she's a bibliophile, she would go to like a conference and the author would be doing book signings, so she'd get 2 copies. She
Yes.
said, no, this is one for our treasure. Like, this is our
Mm.
vault. And the
Mm.
other one she would gift. I thought that was so powerful. And
Yes.
then I started to see families kind of do that along the way. But it was happiness of reading,
Hmm.
happy reading,
Yes.
in a way that I had not thought about it. So once you get people to pick up a book, carve time, and make it important in their schedule, in their daily schedule to read, and then do some processing, how do you then measure? How do you measure their mood? Do you use tools? What tools do you use to say, okay, this is how you are feeling? And I'm speaking about the social and emotional learning of the person right now. How do you measure that? What do you use? Some, standardized tools? You use some like surveys? How do you measure progress?
Right now, it's just through conversation and asking the right questions. You'll get the right answers about how they're actually doing with it, because they'll start talking more about what the reading text is all about, how often they're doing it, how is it making them feel. Just asking the right questions for right now.
Okay. All
So
right.
in the moment, like I'm starting to build that, survey type of scenario for them. But right now it's just conversation through our coaching sessions.
Okay. Excellent. So if you have, what are like the 3 or 4 or 5 books that you would always, no matter where a person is, that you would always say, if you're stuck, here are some texts that or you're on your personal like library list? What would those be? What would some of those be?
Oh my goodness. For fun, I would say the Curtis Black series by Kimberly Lawson Ruby. If you want to, yeah.
Wait, I'm gonna type as you go. Okay.
Right, because Curtis Black, he's a preacher and he goes through a lot of drama. So if you just want to go into drama and just lose yourself in the church drama, Curtis Black is your man. So she has a lot of books on that. I like her. The Big Leap. Um, that's a very good book about getting yourself out there. Self awareness book. I just read that maybe a couple of months ago. That was very good. Let me see. Anything by James Patterson, because I'm a mystery buff. So anything James Patterson or Walter Mosley. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now, because there's so many different authors that I do like. Um, the young lady, so it's fantasy. The young lady, she wrote Children of Blood and Bone. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but it's a nice fantasy book. and I read part 2, so I'm actually waiting for part 3. So
Okay, so I was just trying to type without being heard. So let me now pull these up. So we have Curtis Black.
yes, that series by Kimberly Lawson Ruby. Yes.
Okay. We have The Big Leap,
Hmm.
which spelled self-awareness. Oh, sorry, I forgot the N. We have mm, James Patterson.
Yes.
We have Walter Mosley.
Yes.
And then you said Children of Blood and Bone series.
Yes. Yes, that author was awesome. Where Stephen King went to look for her because he enjoyed her writing. I was like, what?
Okay,
So,
okay.
yes.
Excellent, excellent. I'm really excited to be able to. The books that honestly that I pick up are basically like African history, African American history. I'm just a big um, enthusiast. I think that's the best word. And if it's about social justice and uh, a little bit of politics, not heavy politics, but politics that impacts, you know,
Hmm.
my community. I'm
Right.
interested in that. I definitely used to be the person, if I call myself an avid reader, it would be in this genre. And don't laugh, but it was in this genre. When I became aware of Jet Magazine, because that was in my household growing up,
Hmm. Okay.
right? I then was able to see like the big magazines like the Ebony, and that I used to read. We have Reader's Digest in my house, so
Yes, we did too.
I would find a little story that I could read. I would
Yes.
do that. And then when I felt like I was a grown woman, I got the Essence magazine. Now, for those people who that seems like that's not real reading, but if that's what
Yeah.
fit the bill at the time, then fine. But
Yes.
as a young child, I also was. Now, let me get this right. Now, I should know this off the top of my head as a reader, as a teacher. We had the Scholastic Book Club.
I loved it when it was that time. Oh my God. I loved it. Even now at our school, I always get a book. They still do it. And I
Right.
still get a book.
And so I was the child who, and let me just say for the record, I'm an only child. So those of you who want to say, oh, well, only children do this, that, and the other, not all
No,
the time. But
no.
I was the young person who I would get like all of these, big, thick chapter books. And of course, I'd be like, oh, I'm reading chapter books and I'm reading them all. But the type of books that we had available for, and I would say for children of color, the term now that
Mhm.
we use, we if they existed, let me say that 4 or 5 decades ago, I don't know where they were. But
Exactly. I'm with you. I'm with
right.
you. I agree.
So I remember specifically I was part of the Laura Ingalls Wilder community.
Yes.
Little House on the Prairie,
Yes.
that was
Yes.
big time, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Anne Frank, that was big time. It didn't even dawn on me. We could have a whole separate conversation
Yes.
about, the imagery, the content, and the
Yes.
impact on, I'll say, Black and brown children in this particular situation.
Yes. True.
But those lives, I had a conversation today that those lives and that thinking of in my household, I'll say in my household, wasn't really this is belongs to one community, this belongs to another community. It was situational. So when we read like the Little House on the Prairie and on the Prairie series, okay, thank you. My stream team is dropping in Pippi Longstocking. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Pippi Longstocking. It didn't hit us of this
Right.
is a book about a community that doesn't represent you. It
Right.
was this is the literature that we have. Read it, become a stronger reader. I'm
Yes.
so excited and proud. So let me just put that up. Thank you, Mama. Thank you for uh, just saying like this is a good book. Now we have more texts, titles,
Yes.
content of representation, of storyline
Yes.
that represents people of other communities. I'm very, very thankful No matter what people say, I'm thankful not only to the authors, but I'm thankful to the publishers who finally listened and said, these stories are important as well. That
Yes.
did not come easily. I know now for sure that there were many people who were knocking down doors saying, you need Jacqueline Woodson.
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
You, as illustrators and story writers, you need Leo and Diane Dillon.
Yes.
I can come up with
Yeah.
them quickly, quicker as you need Curtis. Oh geez, I hope I don't lose it. I'm just trying to think of like young adult and children's authors whose
Mm,
books are on the shelves even more. But you needed that, and for those people, let's say, who were reading certain texts in the past, now we have more representation
yes, we do.
where that shows different communities, and
Yeah.
that's very important. So as you're referring books to people, how do you incorporate maybe conferences or conventions or belonging to symposiums, or like you said, like maybe larger book clubs,
Okay.
as a part of that reading life?
Okay, so with that, I talk about building community. So sometimes it's good to get out and have discussion about what you're reading, because sometimes you're by yourself, you're reading your book, and you look around, oh, there's no one here to talk to. So it's like it's like watching a movie. Sometimes you want to discuss it with someone else. So I talk about building community, building that up, that comprehension, that just getting back into that social aspect, because that works on your social emotional too, interacting with other people, whether you online doing it or whether you in person doing it. So that builds up that skill that at sometimes I believe has lost at this point. We don't know how to interact, communicate, because we're by ourselves so much. And then in the past 2 years, we've definitely been by ourselves. So now coming back out and just, being able to reach out to other people, share how did you like this the author. Sometimes I don't like an author. I still may read it, but I'll tell you why I didn't like it, why what the story didn't get to me, or it took too long to get to the good part. But I have to continue reading so I can tell you why. And then every now and then it's nice to even connect with the author when you can, to say, hey,
Yes.
interact with them. This is what I was thinking by your reading, your text, or, maybe it was their first book. And then maybe it got better for me the next go around. So I talk about building community, because that's also a good aspect of getting yourself out there and not being in a silo.
I love it. I love it. So here's one last question, and then we can maybe wrap up. I don't know if I want to let you go yet. Those people who, if you have, so we've been talking to Linda Miller, and she has a great program. It's called Get Your Life Back into Balance through literature, through reading. And so I'm going to, let me not forget. Did I put it up? I did. I did. I did. Here we go. Wait, I'll make it better because now it looks like I'll put it back in. Don't worry about it. I know what I'm doing. There is, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. I just lost my train of thought. It's fine. She has a program called Get Your Life Back into Balance through reading. And I'm going to put up the Calendly link. That's what I was trying to do for the discovery call. Here's the last question. Is it paper or digital? Is there a difference for you? If there's you recommend.
Recently, so recently I was challenged by one of my good friends, because I was telling her my eyes were hurting. She said, well, maybe you need to try an audiobook. So I got readers in it as well. And I tried it. So I've done it for a year now. So I'm not opposed to it anymore. But I still will go get the paper books. But now I'm not opposed to the audiobook, because I'll use it when I'm going for a walk. I'm out, traveling. I'll use it for them. So I'm not opposed. In the beginning, I was totally opposed. When they were closing down all the bookstores, Borders, and all of that, I was like in pain, because I'm like, what's going on? Like, I can't read on the screen like that. So I listen more than anything. I don't really read it on the screen, but I like listen to the audiobook. So I'm not opposed. And that's another thing. If someone like, well, I don't have time, I don't want to carry on a book. Okay, well, you can get audiobooks, or you can get the library, because it's free. Overdrive is free from the library, and you can listen. So no excuses if that's what you want to do, because that's the thing about getting your life back into balance. You want to get back to that fun. And for me, reading is fun. It helps everything else when the mind, body, and spirit is together and you're doing the things that you believe is fun for your life, then everything works. And reading is just one of the tools that I like to use right now.
I love it. I love it. So those of you who are interested in just trying to sort of figure out whether it is you feel out of whack and you need to get yourself back on the right track.
Yes.
That was not intentional. I did not mean for that to rhyme. Let's say put down the remote control, pick up a book, whether
Yes.
it's the paper and smelling the paper like Linda and I love to do.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I'm not the only one.
Right. Or it's like getting on your device and swiping away. I'm really into some of these. I've started to pop into these like short, I don't know what you would call them, but I guess they're like short romance stories, but they pop up on my screen. And so, of course,
Mm.
they give you like the first chapter, and then you're so captivated and you're like, ooh. But then you have to like pay additional money along the way to open up these, to unlock these other chapters. I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed.
Like, no.
I was so annoyed. Here it is. I see this thing pop on my phone early in the morning. And those of you who know, like, no shade, because y'all do it too. You get up in the morning, you scroll in before you
Yes,
even get up. And before it was these movies from, like, say, the other side of the world, these like short clips. And I'd be like, all right, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And then you're hooked. And I'm like, oh, now it's these books. They pop up and it's like the first chapter. But for me, this is as a teacher, if the lead of the story is one that is gonna, as I say, snatch your edges in the first 3 or 4 seconds, then I'm gonna be like, I'm like, ooh.
Yes, I want it. Because you can't put it down at that point.
But the sad thing is they know that you're doing this, and so then they hook you, but then they string you along for a little bit. And as you're trying to figure out, well, wait, what happened to so-and-so? Wait, who's that person in the back of the theater? Don't you know they're gonna come get you? And then you're still stringing, and you're like, oh my gosh, hold on. I gotta pay like $15 to read like the next 7 chapters.
Yes.
I'm thinking it's releasing me to the whole book, child. It was just like the next 10 chapters out of like a 70 chapter book. I was so annoyed. I said, forget it. I don't care what happened to the woman. I'm not doing that. But guess what? They're good, because then 4 or 5 days later, they came back around into my feed and they're like, they gave me like 2 pages of the next chapter free. So they picked up where I left off, and they're like, you sure you don't want it? You have to pay. I was so annoyed.
That is funny. Drama.
I was so annoyed. Anyway, so again, if you are interested in sort of, stepping back onto a better path for yourself, pick up a book. If you need someone literally to sort of hold your hand so that you can turn the pages,
I love that.
You can use that. Use it.
Yes.
Please give a shout out to Sister Linda Miller. And here is her Calendly link, Linda Miller 21, Linda Miller 21 in Calendly.com. And you can use that. And I believe the link is actually live in her description of this chat, of this announcement. And you can click on that and then hop onto a discovery call with her. Even if it's just hey, I need some suggestions for some new texts. Here's the genre that I like. She's almost like your personal digital librarian.
That's it. Come to me. Come on over. I can help you out.
You need to write that down.
Yes, I'm writing it.
She's your personal digital librarian.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I love it. I love it.
Don't sleep on my genius here. Linda is the personal digital librarian.
Oh, I love it.
love
Love.
it. So please hop on over, get a discovery call for her, and see how she can help you, get onto a better reading track, add reading into your self-care life, add it into mindset shift life, personal and leadership development life. Even
Mhm.
if it's like, hey, have you read this text, or what do you think of this author? Linda Miller is your woman. She
Yes.
is it. Please make sure that you get your life back on track with Linda Miller of Happy Reading LLC. Is there
Yes.
something that you want to leave us with so we can pick up that book and put down that phone? Mm.
Look, if you want to have joy into your life, just pick up the book and read, and it'll bring all the joy that you're looking for right there.
I love it. So, peace and blessings. This is a Learn to Grow You moment where I plant seeds to help you grow. I look forward to seeing you all on the next go round for season 2, episode 24. Season 2, 24. Never know who's going to pop on, but please keep in touch. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Learn to Grow You, or you can subscribe to us here on Facebook on my business page or my personal page, and would love to engage, to encourage, to empower, and to smell the pages with us.
Yes, 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 yes.
If you know, you know. If you don't, shame on you.
That's right. Shame on you.
See you on the next go round, everyone.